So my topic for this portfolio is about existential crisis. First question would be what comes to your mind when you hear that word existential crisis, and how would you define it? One I would choose Naura.
But what comes to mind is like me in bed, the room is dark, it's 2 a.m. And then I'm suddenly thinking like, oh, what if I die in my sleep? Or like, what am I going to do with my future? So existential crisis to me is like whenever you think about uh basically like your future, what your place is in the world and stuff like that.
Okay, relatable, of course. Thank you for the input, Naura. And next one, I would ask Miles. How about you?
Um, I don't know. For me, that's a tough question. I would probably say you you feel like you're lost in this world. You don't have a purpose. You don't know what you're working towards. You don't know what you want out of life. You don't. You wake up every morning. I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for the input, Miles. And then the next one, I'll choose Alice.
I think it's a weird combination of like emotion and like realization that your life as it is has no sense of purpose, and kind of dread that having that idea that really you have no purpose in the life that you're given, and so you have this crisis, existential crisis. I think that's what it means, and what it means to me, and what the word means in general. So
Okay, so one, thank you for the input, first of all, Alice. And the next one, choose Talula.
I don't really know how to describe it. It's just a feeling of like emptiness and sort of you're not useful in any way, and like it's just kind of like that. I guess that's how I would describe it. But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your interesting input. So just so that we're on the same ground, I'm just gonna say like my theme existential crisis here means just pretty much general feeling of questioning about stuff. So yeah, whether it's about where you came from, is there a God or not, or what are you supposed to do in your life? Like, do you even matter? That kind of stuff. Just the general questioning, and sometimes it leads to suicidal thoughts and so on and so forth. But sometimes it's not. It just depends on how everyone deals with it. So that's just we're on the same ground. So the same question I will ask: have you personally experience existential crisis, and to what extent did it actually affect you? Like, did it has it ever been like harmful to you, and that kind of stuff? So I'll start with
All right, I kind of teased it earlier, so it's pretty often, but especially more weirdly enough when I was like 10, 11, like fourth grade, sixth grade. Because to be fair, that was my flop era. And it was mostly the first one, which is like, oh, why did my day tonight? What will I miss? And which is not a fun existential crisis to think about a possible impending death that catches you unaware. It's just, oh, God. And that did make me pray a lot. Be like, God, please don't take me tonight. I have assignments tomorrow. It's a weird thing to pray for, but that happened. But these days, most of my existential crisis is more like, what will happen if my parent really knows who I really am? Because my parents don't for a lot of things, like sexuality, faith, or lack thereof. And it's like, oh, what if they find out? One of them, the most prominent one, is like, oh, what if my mom finds out I don't want to get married or have children? Like, it's so. Or will I have moved out by then and I don't have to bother with that? So I don't really have that often. I think the most I have often is like, oh shit, I haven't done this assignment. What will happen next if I don't do this? What if my grades rub it?
Okay, thank you for the input, Alva. And then we'll move on to Miles.
I've been very lucky. I've never, from what you've definition, no, as a role, I've never experienced existential crisis. Maybe it's because I'm 18 and I don't know, haven't lived enough life, or I'm not sure. I have always I do come from a very privileged background of, very fortunate parents and stuff like that. So maybe that's assisted in as to why I've never experienced it.
Interesting, Miles. Okay. And then the next one is Alice. Then
A fair amount of times. I think if I were to say all of them, I'd kind of bore you all to death. I think the most prevalent one in my life was when I was finding out I was, well, it was kind of like it was like a multi-year process, but I was finding out I was trans, essentially, and coming to terms with that, and kind of realizing what that means for me going forward. I'm a lot better now, so it's not like, I have these problems anymore. But like during the pandemic, and you had to literally stay in your apartment or house for like the whole day. That combined with my kind of gender dysphoria, having to deal with the ramifications of that, really fucked me over, really screwed with me. And I kind of, most people kind of realize I disappeared off like everyone's like social circles for a year straight. So it's kind of like I'm a year behind everyone else in life. Oh well.
okay, I'm sorry that happened, Alice. I can definitely relate with the body dysmorphia kind of thing. But yeah, it is what it is, right? And then okay, we'll move on to what's next? Kalula, right? Kalula.
I think I have from time to time. It's not as bad as before, but I've definitely hit like, not, I won't say rock bottom, but it's definitely the worst part of my life so far. I always question myself, like, what am I gonna do in the future? Yeah. Last year something didn't go as planned. Something big didn't go as planned, and it kind of like screwed me over for like a few months or so, and it was really bad because I kept thinking, wow, I oh I don't really want to go to details, but it's like self-deprecation and self-hatred, and it's just a very depressing cycle of just rethinking of what I can do in my future because of what I will do in my future because this thing didn't come as planned. It was just really bad, and I don't really enjoy that at all. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do realize this is a very heavy topic to talk about. But yeah, if I'm being honest with you, my existential crisis got so bad that recently I had to go to see a psychiatrist, and I was eventually like diagnosed eventually like with, I think it was severe depressive episodes and that kind of stuff. That all was from my existential crisis, and then it all spiraled from that to those depressive episodes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can definitely relate to all of you that have experienced it. And then for the last question then, Oh, so for the first side, people think that mental illnesses and existential crisis in general in literary works, songs, and films are cringy, edgy, and it's just in general like romanticization of serious stuff that are not supposed to like put there, and they think that when they put those kind of stuff in literary works, songs, and films, it makes people it makes people want to have existential crisis and mental illnesses too, because they think that it's quirky and stuff. So that's the first side, that they don't agree with how existential crisis and mental illnesses are portrayed in media. But for the second side, I feel like others actually happy with the portrayal of existential crisis and mental illnesses in media, because they feel like they're seen. Basically, they're seen, and it's not like, even if it's cringy, even if it's edgy, it happens. So they feel like they're happy with that, and that they don't have any problem with that. Which side are you on personally?
I'm more on the second side because, been there, probably still there, and I like to be seen. And while I do agree that sometimes the media really romanticizes like mental illness, that's kind of like a different conversation, the whole Tumblr 2015 thing. Um, but here's the thing, like existential crisis happens to like everyone to a certain extent, just that some of us has worse existential crisis, and some are just a lot more mild, some are more like trivial or random, some are straight up debilitating, like have unfortunately. But I'm one of the latter, like, yeah, we deserve to be seen. I just hope that the representation is good because I don't really like when it gets too edgy. So, well, if you know the series from the background, yeah, all of my faves are mentally ill, especially this way. Um, the girl there, mental illness capital right there. But sometimes, but go for it. We deserve to be seen. We deserve to be heard. We deserve to go same hat as the character on the TV. You know.
Interesting take, Laura. And then we'll move on to Miles then.
I think you've asked genuinely, I think, the most thought-provoking question I've heard in a while, with that one there. I think in a way I agree with both sides. To explain myself, I feel like I guess to start off with, I guess in media, I think often it is poorly written. I think considering the subject matter of what it's communicating, I think it has to be written very well. For me personally, I think 13 Reasons Why was a good example in a way of a well-written character in that respect. But I think as well there are so many cases where you see it's very poorly written, and I think it does come across cringy. And so that's why I sort of do agree with that, especially I think these days as well. I guess like online on like social media and stuff, you do see, a lot of that sort of cringier side coming through. However, I do still think at the same time, I do very much agree with the second side as well. I think it is a great way to have people, seen and, to have that, seen and heard and represented, especially as it has historically been such a taboo topic to talk about. I think seeing it in media or reading it in books or however you may see it, I think is a great way, yes, to make you feel seen and heard and understood, and perhaps like you're not alone in the world, especially it can be comforting to sort of wrap yourself up in that world too, as you can relate to what's happening. And as well, I love Albert Camus and Dostoevsky's books, and reading No Longer Human right now, which is a fantastic book. And those books all cover the second side, a portrayal of, existential crises and mental illness. And I think from what I've read, I do believe it has been such a perfect tool for expressing, especially in times where it wasn't really a talked about topic. I think it has been also a very good way to make people feel seen and heard. So
very, very, very well taken, Miles. Especially from you who have claimed that you've never had existential crisis before, something like that. But that was a very well spoken take. And then next one, we'll move on to Alice.
I heavily lean on the second side. I think I'm a little biased since my favorite movies and favorite albums and books are all usually portraying an existential crisis of some sort. And this comes partly because of during my time when I was going through one myself. That was media that resonated with me a lot. Can I give an example? I think An Elephant Sitting Still, this Chinese film from 2018, is a film that I haven't watched it in 3 years now, I think, partly because it's 4 hours long. But that film, I was going back to that film sort of because of like it kind of understood where I was mentally at the time. And so having media like that, I think, is really important, I think, given that kind of part of my life.
I definitely agree on you on this one, because like a lot of people, when they see like a media portraying like mental illnesses and existential crisis, like some of them like think, oh, this is so edgy. Oh my god, like has anyone ever felt like that bad? Like, no, there's no way. It's just it's too exaggerated and that kind of stuff. I mean, and then I'm just thinking to myself, actually. Actually, yeah, some people do. You just don't know. You just never experience it. But yeah, we'll move on to our last one. Talula.
Actually, if you put in those two groups, I guess I would fall in neither, because even during my existential crisis era, like I didn't fall. I didn't fall to any of the sides, because I don't know. Me personally, I just don't see the importance of relating to certain media tropes. But however, I do get that some people do need to be represented in those media, because it's the only way they could somehow make themselves feel normal and also like accepted in a way. I totally get the reason behind that, and I think representation itself is also pretty important in media.
Okay, thank you so much for all of your takes. I appreciate all of them. There's no right or wrong answer in this kind of question, and I just want to say that for those who had experienced this kind of struggle before, or who are still experiencing this, I just wish you to get better. Just obviously just get better, or just at least get a better coping mechanism, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I hope you can heal. I hope we all can heal. Oh yeah. Thank you so much for all your contribution. Thank you. I see myself out. Yeah, cheer everyone. Yeah.
Yay!